Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 13th Harmonic. We have with us today a man who needs no introduction. His name is Adam Apollo, one of the founding members of the Guardian Alliance here on planet Earth, numerous other projects. We can give you the links to his bio and his collective portfolio of works. We'll make sure that those are in the video description. Adam, thank you very much for coming on the show today. We are thrilled to have you here, and it is an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much, Jade. It's good to see you and good to be on your show. It's a pleasure and honor to be here and meet your viewers and connect with you. Thank you.
You know, a lot of my viewers lately have been struggling with the concept of what is it like to actually be on an upper dimensional version of Earth? What is it like to be on 5D Earth per se, or living in the heart space? What does that look like while we kind of wait for the physical reality to catch up to that? What does that frequency feel like? And what are some things that people can do to really get into that space from your perspective and experience?
Yeah, well, one of the aspects of exploring dimensional experience that I enjoy sharing is that, you know, nothing actually needs to change in any of the lower dimensions, so to speak, in order for one to begin to perceive the beauty and the perfection which becomes accessible as one begins to expand their perception of time. In the very simple physical and mathematical approach to dimensionality, we could say that our three dimensions of space are a plenty good framework for understanding length, width, and height, distance, and etc. And yet, without the fourth dimension of time separating that space, it all still combines into a little ball and doesn't actually have any experience, does it? And so here we are immersed in this fluid movement of experience and time and space, and that is what we experience as this four-dimensional roller coaster, so to speak. And yet we tend to perceive our movement in that roller coaster as one that is only moving in a straight line or is only going in a certain direction. And we think that, you know, everything that has happened, and everything that has not happened yet has not happened yet. And it's something that we're approaching, something that we're coming towards, and that, in fact, there's no way to know what is going to happen next. But when one begins to perceive from a fifth dimensional space, what happens is that you begin to realize that there are actually connections between the moments that you have experienced in the past and the present moment of now. You begin to see that there's actually a field of resonance that interconnects points on the spiral as we're traveling through time. And so when you come back around the circle and you hit a similar harmonic point in our progression through space-time, so to speak, it's now in resonance with the previous point in time. And the resonance between the 2 points in time are engaged in such a way that synchronicities, as we may call them, or coincidences, happen now that are directly related to these previous events that we've experienced. And then further, we begin to realize that the same pattern is going off into our future. So it's not that the future is a complete mystery, it's that we can count on that there will be synchronistic cycles if we are aware and listening deeply enough to the subtle patterns and symbols that are arising before us. So the practice of kind of accessing our fifth dimensional nature and even beyond that really begins when we begin to look for the miracles. We begin to look for the synchronicities. We look for the coincidences. We look to see the subtle symbolic connections that are weaving the sort of higher dimensional lattice across the space and time that our existence is operating within.
Beautifully put. What do you have to say about let's say somebody makes a gesture while they're speaking, right? And or they're typing on a keypad or whatever. They're, from the earth perspective, they're mimicking what it would be like to type on a keyboard. From a multidimensional state, we recognize that they're actually typing on a keyboard. Like, if you could see into that dimension where their higher self is like mimicking the same exact movement, it's the 3D vessel at some layer of reality. It's like the consciousness syncing up across dimensions, like you say. And so as you were speaking, I saw like galaxies spiraling off, like you had a hologram and you were projecting it as you spoke. And like, I didn't see it with my physical eyes, but I perceived it completely through my multidimensional aspects. I knew that it was happening. And that's a layer that I've personally struggled with, and I'm sure others have on this planet. So getting past that internal resistance of, oh, it was just my imagination. How would you, in this here and now moment, walk somebody through being able to recognize that they just had a multidimensional experience and be able to validate that and strengthen that?
Yeah. Sure. Well, we are immersed in many layers of being, right? So a simple way that people can recognize that is to realize, you can be sitting in your physical body, having a physical experience, and, an event happens. You see something occur, and you may witness an event happen, and it may not seem to faze you at all. You don't have a strong physiological experience. You're not having but you just kind of witness it. It just, something goes down. And then another event happens, and when you witness that event, and even if it's very similar to the last one that you experienced, suddenly you have like huge emotional charge come up, right? There's like all this feeling and all this emotion and this vibration, and it's like, oh, it's visceral. It's like in your guts, it's in your heart, and it's in your throat, and you can't speak about it, and you don't even know what to say because you're having this very potent emotional experience. And the emotional vibration, the sort of etheric vibration of that field is so strong, it's changing your entire physiological construct. So your entire body is shifting. And not only that, but it's propagating a resonance out from it. And sometimes it's so strong that other people will actually notice it. They'll feel the vibe in the room change because you're literally now resonating this room with this emotional experience that you're having. And we all have this, to some extent. You notice when a family member is grieving, or, someone's on the phone and they just found out that someone they know died. It might be subtle shifts in their voice and their eyes and their face, but there's a feeling change that happens in the room because the emotional field is actually reverberating out. And then the same thing occurs mentally, right? So when we tell someone a story, or we go deep into a memory, or we see something very clearly and deeply in our minds, for example, visualizing the sun in the center of the solar system and each of the planets as sort of rings of resonance around the sun, and this disk, traveling through the galaxy, my capacity to see and witness this experience in my mind and see that disk flowing around a galactic core is something that I can impart to the field around me, like a holographic, augmented reality projection, so to speak, that other people can pick up on. So, if I describe rain cascading through the leaves of a tree, and every drop is splashing against leaves, dripping off them, and landing on the soil and soaking the earth, and I can smell the mists floating around the tree as this warm rain hits the tree. Just me describing it is giving you one sense of what's going on from the words that I'm using, but my capacity to actually astrally sense and feel and smell the rain and hear the droplets hit the leaves and actually be there is the extent to which you can receive the poetry that I impart and actually be there with me and have that experience. So going back to your keyboard thing, I think we all are like, you know, with our minds, we are holographically projecting out into space what it is that we're thinking and visualizing and how we're seeing ourselves. And this is, you know, applicable across almost every realm of life. If you go in for a job interview and you're thinking, man, I don't look good enough, you know, like, shoot, I should have put on that other shirt, or like, you know, dang, like I wish my hair looked better, you know, you're thinking all these negative impression thoughts on yourself. You walk into the interview, you don't have confidence, and you don't do very good. And they can feel that you have all of these negative thoughts on yourself, and they see those same things. Now, if that doesn't make you paranoid, I don't know what will. But, you know, if you are thinking in a fearful way and projecting, you know, thoughts out into the universe that don't reflect the strongest, most powerful part of yourself, then you are going to be receiving the feedback of that a lot. And, you know, vice versa, if you go out into the world and you are thinking the thoughts about yourself as the powerful, amazing, beautiful, creative, smart, loving being that you are, then others will see and feel that, and you will receive reflections that align with that perception of yourself.
Very well said. From my perspective, anyway, I was seeing the trees and seeing the mist wrapping around them, and there's definitely a specific smell. Just when you talk about the reflections coming back, right, from what we project into the field. In dreams, that happens almost instantly, right? Or near instantly, as far as we can perceive it in that space, depending upon the level of consciousness present. The more consciousness present, the more flexible the dream, right? So as I've done my work, I've noticed that my physical reality has sped up to be a little bit more dreamlike, more and more. And I keep wondering, I keep hearing about people who say they're living in a lucid dream, you know, and what is it that really stops people from that freedom, that experience of being able to walk through reality with that level of wonder and bliss and awe?
Yeah. Jadedness. That's funny. Right? Jade.
Your greatest shadow is your greatest.
Right. Yeah, right. It's overcoming the impressions that we get from things that occur that we did not consciously choose, right? So we didn't consciously choose for us to get pulled over in our car or something, right? And yet we did, and now we have to deal with that. And like, what are we going to do now that that's just happened, right? And so there can be at times when people feel like life is just steamrolling them, you know, like they're out of control because they're not taking any conscious command and responsibility for what's coming. They're reacting to everything. So they're reacting to the work that's being asked of them. They're reacting to the food that they just ate. They're reacting to like whether or not this thing happened perfectly or not. And they're reacting to the fact they have to buy gas. And they're reacting to the fact they have to pay these bills. When you're in a state of constant reaction, you're fending off the universe all the time. You're fighting, you know, everything, and stuff is going to be blindsiding you all the time. And you don't realize it, but your frustration and your challenge with it is literally consciously co-creating more of the state of being in a reactive place and not knowing what the frack is going on, right? So how do you get out of that? And how do you return back to the state of where life is like a lucid dream? Well, it requires intentionality. It requires you getting into intention. In other words, getting in tension with the things that you actually want to be holding and experiencing in your life. So by me intending that I'm going to feel a certain way today, by me intending that if I get sideswiped by a text message or a phone call or whatever that's like stressful, I'm not going to let it bother me. I'm going to be in tension with the part of myself that's able to be like, you know what, it's all good. I can handle that. And being in tension with the next step of like, I'm going to accomplish this today and I'm going to get that done. And, life still is going to throw you curveballs sometimes because the immense depth of our soul's wisdom and the subconscious, unconscious lattice of events that are, driving to help us grow and evolve and accept ourselves is always going to be beyond what we are conscious of to some extent. And yet the conscious application of will and intention and focus and emotion, love, passion, elation, intention, creation, relation, ascension, when we focus the field of our energy and our ideas and our mind and our feeling, then we start to notice the universe is responding to us. It is and it will. And if we are looking for the magic and we're looking for the symbols that would show us that there's something magical going on, that this is somehow a dream, that there are somehow patterns that are part of a greater picture, then all of a sudden we start seeing 111s and 222s and 333s and 1111s and 1234s and, whatever your mathematical flavor might be. If it's, my friend Robert Grant, he sees, Euler's constant and everything. And he sees 1 over pi everywhere. And he sees all of these numbers because he's open to seeing the mathematical constants of the universe being expressed in the world around him. And so to some extent, the more of a library for the possibility of magic that you have, the more of a library you have to receive how beautiful and perfect and synchronistic the universe can be, the more you can actually see and experience it. So be open, learn what does a miracle look like? If incredible things were to happen in your life, what would those look like? Put yourself in tension with those. It'd be more fun.
I mean, like in Star Wars, stay on target, and there's that component of stay on target, recognize that what you're intending to create requires presence, requires focus. And if I get distracted in this, whatever, with a rat race, like they call it, that's stepping back from the perspective that in a dream, everything happens right now, right? So that's the time for the intention is now, always. And if you stay focused on that, if you can hone that intention, I've learned that it's not a scroll of proclamations to the universe. This is what I want. You have to be able to pulse that from your heart. Boom, boom, boom. And it comes back to you, right? More and more. It's that compression of everything into that fine chi ball, like a neutron star that just, boom, sucks it into your world. And it's there because you know that it can be there. Thank you so much for being with us here tonight, Adam. We're absolutely going to have to invite you back on the show again for another part. I feel like 20 minutes is just not enough time with Adam Apollo. And I would love to treat the people to more of it. So we'll see when you can find some time, and definitely hope we can get you back. Thank you so much.
I'd be happy to come back. And yeah, let's do it more often, man. Sounds like a great plan. And take care, everybody. Thanks for watching. Good to see you.
Thank you.